It's 2 a.m. You have to be up in 5 hours. Your body is exhausted. The room is dark. The house is quiet. Everything is still. And your brain picks this exact moment to replay a conversation you had 3 years ago. Not the big stuff. Not the things that actually matter. The moment at dinner last Tuesday where you said something slightly off and nobody reacted, but you could feel it. The email you sent this morning and the way they responded with just okay. The look someone gave you in passing that lasted half a second and somehow you've been analyzing it for 6 hours. You are not anxious. You are not neurotic. And you are definitely not doing this on purpose. But at 2 a.m. you are prosecutor, defendant, and judge. And the trial never ends. People say just stop thinking about it. And you want to ask them genuinely how. How do you do that? Because your brain does not have an off switch. It has a dimmer that doesn't work and a volume dial stuck on high. You've been told you're sensitive, told you're too in your head, told to just let it go. And every time someone says that, a small part of you wants to explain that it is not that simple. That something is happening inside your mind that you did not choose and cannot fully control. And that the fact that it happens most at night is not a coincidence. It's not a flaw. It's not weakness. And it is not random. There is a very specific reason your brain does this. And it starts with something researchers discovered that most people never hear about. Stay with me. Let's start with the first group. The ones whose nighttime overthinking isn't about worry at all. It's about something much deeper. You're 12 years old. It's late. The house has gone quiet and for the first time all day, nobody needs anything from you. No performance to give. No mood to manage. No role to play. Just you and the dark and the silence. And that's when it starts. The replay. The review. The quiet audit of everything that happened today. Every word. Every interaction. Every version of yourself you showed the world. Not because you're anxious. Because this is the only time you actually get to think. Psychologist Elaine Aron at Stony Brook University spent years studying what she calls the highly sensitive person. Roughly 15 to 20% of the population whose nervous systems are wired to process experience more deeply than others. Not emotionally sensitive in the fragile sense. Neurologically sensitive. Their brains take in more information per interaction, run it through more filters, look for more meaning in more places. For these people, the daytime is noise. Constant input, constant stimulation, constant demand. The brain spends all day receiving and almost no time actually processing. And at night, when the input finally stops, the brain does not rest. Catches up. It replays. It tries to make sense of everything it couldn't examine while it was happening. That's not anxiety. That's a backlog. Your brain is a high-resolution camera that never gets time to upload its footage until everyone else goes to sleep. That's not overthinking. That's deep processing doing the only thing it knows how to do. But for the second group, the night brings something different. Not review. Not processing. Something that feels more like being hunted. Here's where the science gets interesting. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley studied what happens to the brain during sleep deprivation and found something that explains everything. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, calm, this is fine part of your brain, needs sleep to stay online. When it's tired, it starts going offline in the hours before sleep. And when the prefrontal cortex goes quiet, something else gets louder. The amygdala. Your brain's threat detection system, the part that was designed to scan for danger, to notice risk, to make sure you survive. And here is the problem. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a lion in the grass and an unanswered text message. Both register as potential threats. Both get the same urgent internal alarm. So at 11 p.m. when your rational brain is exhausted and your threat detection brain is running at full volume, everything feels bigger than it is. The email becomes evidence. The offhand comment becomes rejection. The half-remembered conversation becomes a verdict on your worth. This is not catastrophizing. This is your neurobiology doing exactly what it was designed to do at exactly the wrong time of day. That's not weakness. That's bad timing between biology and the modern world. And then there's the third group, the ones who have been doing this longest. The ones who, if they're honest, don't just overthink at night. They feel safest doing it at night. Because somewhere in their history, nighttime was the only time that belonged to them. Maybe you grew up in a home where the daytime was unpredictable, where you spent your hours reading rooms, managing people, staying 2 steps ahead of whatever was coming, where your own thoughts were a luxury you couldn't afford while you were busy making sure everything was okay for everyone else. And night was the exhale, the moment the performance ended. The first honest breath of the whole day. Your brain didn't learn to overthink at night because something is wrong with it. It learned that night is when it's finally safe to feel things. And feeling things, for a brain that spent years suppressing them, looks a lot like overthinking. Psychologist Pete Walker, who spent decades working with survivors of complex childhood stress, described this as the nervous system's delayed processing response. The emotions you couldn't afford to feel during the day don't disappear. They queue. They wait. They know exactly when you'll finally be still enough to receive them. That's not your brain torturing you. That's your brain finally trusting you enough to bring you what it's been holding. That's not insomnia. That's a backlog of feelings that never got their moment. But here is where we need to stop and be honest with each other. Because everything I just described, deep processing, amygdala activation, delayed emotional release, all of that is real. All of that is valid. All of that explains something true about you. And also, some of what happens at 2 a.m. is not processing. It's hiding. There is a difference between your brain working through something genuine and your brain using the appearance of deep thought to avoid the one thing that would actually resolve it. A conversation you haven't had. A decision you keep circling. A feeling you've named 100 times but never actually let yourself fully sit with. Rumination and reflection look identical from the inside, but they lead to completely different places. Reflection moves. It reaches a conclusion, even an uncomfortable one, and then it rests. Rumination loops. It visits the same room over and over and over and never opens the window. Psychologist Susan Nolan-Hoeksema at Yale University spent her career studying exactly this distinction. She found that people who ruminate, who replay without resolving, are significantly more likely to stay stuck in anxiety and low mood. Not because they're thinking wrong thoughts, because they're thinking the same thoughts on repeat without ever changing what they do. So here is the question you have to ask yourself honestly at 2 a.m. Am I working through something, or am I avoiding something by pretending to work through it? Only you know. But the answer changes everything. If it's the first, keep going. Your brain is doing something real and it needs the space to finish. If it's the second, the answer isn't to think harder. It's to do the one small thing. Send the message, say the thing out loud. Write the feeling down on paper so it exists somewhere outside your skull. And then let yourself sleep. Because here's what the research actually shows. Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, one of the world's leading sleep scientists, found that the sleeping brain processes emotional memories differently than the waking brain. Sleep literally strips the emotional charge from difficult experiences. You wake up and it doesn't hurt the same way. Your brain at night is not your enemy. It is trying to heal you, but it needs you to sleep to finish the job. So here is what I need you to hear if any of this has felt like someone reading your private thoughts. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken. You are not dramatic. You are not someone who needs to be fixed or medicated or told to just calm down one more time by someone who has never spent a single night inside a brain like yours. You are someone whose mind does not rest at the surface. You feel things at a depth most people never reach. You notice things others walk past. You carry things longer because you take them more seriously. That is not a disorder. That is a different kind of intelligence. And the world needs people who think this deeply, even when the thinking keeps them up at night. You are allowed to have a brain that works differently. You are allowed to need more time to process. You are allowed to still be thinking about it when everyone else has moved on. You are not too much. You were given too little space. Drop a comment with the thing your brain always goes back to at night. You don't have to explain it, just name it. I read every single one. And if this felt like permission you didn't know you were waiting for, subscribe. I make these for people who think too much and feel everything and can never quite explain why. And if you've ever wondered why you feel everything so intensely but struggle to explain what you're feeling to anyone else, why the words are always just out of reach, that video is next. I'll see you there. The thoughts that find you at 2 a.m. aren't random. They're the ones you haven't let yourself